I'm Ashley Brown with Homepage Realty, and I'm here with Chip Bridge with Millennial Title, and we're just going to talk to you about how we've just done the first cryptocurrency closing in Louisville, Kentucky.
Super exciting stuff, and excited to be here and talk to you since you were the one that brought it to us.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have been possible without your help. Having a buyer and a seller willing to accept crypto is kind of a unique situation, and putting it together was really, a big part of that. So.
And it was, and the interesting thing is we've been talking about doing this for now almost a year and a half, and we've worked with some people down in Florida who've done what we call hybrid. So they've had buyer that had Bitcoin and they've transferred it in, and then we've converted it to fiat and we've dispersed out. And so very traditional closing, full disclosure, but there was an element of cryptocurrency, which was fun, and we've gotten a lot of interest level. But the cool thing about this one with your clients was that we actually had a seller that wanted to get the Bitcoin as well. So just walking through that was exciting, and talking to both of them, and then the actual closing was the coolest part.
Yeah, and I would agree. Whenever I was showing the house, I had a personal relationship with both the buyer and the seller, and so just jokingly I said, I think he's going to take the proceeds and buy Bitcoin with this. And the buyer just said, how about I just buy it in Bitcoin? And that's just kind of started the open door to maybe making this happen. So. And
when you brought it to us, it was, my first thing is I want to make sure that all parties understand what they're going to go through, and also remind them that the closing itself, once again, is very normal. We're going to do a title search. We're going to, go through the whole vetting process and the underwriting process. It's just at the time of the actual closing and the disbursement, that's when the Bitcoin is going to come into play, and making sure that everybody's prepared, both on the buyer side, the seller side, the agent side, from a disclosure and a sort of a risk management compliance side. So with the group that you brought together, they were knowledgeable enough and engaged enough that we could get this thing over the finish line.
Yeah, it definitely felt easy, and I love that for the buyer, it only cost him, I think, 70 cents to transfer.
Yes.
I mean, it was just...
So the process was, so when we went to do the settlement statement, very similar to what you would see in a normal closing. The only difference was on the seller side, there was a credit, and then on the buyer side, there was a debit for the amount of Bitcoin that was going to be transferred. And it's all back in USD, so that's where people get tripped up. They get all worried about, well, what if Bitcoin does this or this? Well, it doesn't really matter. We're going to settle out in the denomination based on what the US dollar value of the contract is. So we gave them the amount the night before. The buyer had their wallet ready with funds in it, Bitcoin in it, and the seller brought their wallet to the closing. They used the QR code, they scanned it to the buyer. He literally went into his wallet, executed a transfer, and I think it was about 3 minutes later that the seller could see the Bitcoin, had a verification. We were able to verify it, which was the key element too. There was an extremely secure transaction, so we didn't have to worry about wire fraud. We didn't have to worry about Bob going to the bank and getting a cashier's check. And it was, the fact it was 70 cents was actually one of the funniest pieces of it.
Yeah, and I think everyone just like, oh, that's it, we're done. That was painless.
Yes. And so I think what it just demonstrated to us is a peek into the future. Yeah. As digital currency becomes more prevalent, as people get more comfortable with using digital currencies, there's going to be a lot of utility that people are going to find. One, it's secure. Two, it's fast. Three, it's very low cost. So you bring those three elements into play. And then down the road, when we start putting deeds on the blockchain and doing things like that, we're going to see even more interesting ways to use this new technology.
If you're interested in learning more about Bitcoin and how we can help you, I'm Ashley Brown with Homepage Realty.
This is Chip Bridge with Millennial Title.
Thanks again.